Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Folks, welcome again to the Oregon Voters Digest. What a beautiful day to have such a show. We're going to have quite an event here. This is going to be the introduction, if you will, of the City of Roses coming back in style, big time. We got some of the best weather there is today and next week, 80-degree weather next week. I mean, it's as if to say it's the beginning summer, if you will, to basically hone down in on those roses that are going to be just popping out here all of a sudden. And what I'm talking about, what is going to do that is this newly election, if you will, the new system, and management, if you will, and whatever, and representation for the city of Portland. The whole terrain has changed. We're going to have 4 districts here, and there's going to be three commissioners per district. We're going to have a new mayor with different responsibilities. I mean, we're going to have all kinds of deals. And I tell you, that means that we're going to be looking for a good, solid leadership, if you will, from the city here, for the city of Portland. And the type of leadership that's going to have to, as far as we're concerned, is that they're going to have resumes on the past, because you got to know where, in order to get where we're going, someone has to have some ideas of where we've been. And that's a very important piece. So that's going to be a very interesting piece. We're going to have 4 districts, like I said before. And it is estimated that there's going to be probably about 100 people running for office this time around. And it's going to be impacting everybody, from the business community to the social community to the homeless, all the kind of, it's going to represent. So it's going to be the new beginning, if you will, of a new Portland, bringing back the City of Roses. That's been a very concern. So that's what we're going to be doing here on the Oregon Voters Digest through the election, that until to the point where people are seated in 2025, because that's when they will be seated along that particular line. So, and the elections are beginning now. And that's where we're going to start along that particular line. So the people you're going to be seeing me interviewing this time around will be that. There will be folks who are interested in running for office, who have a resume, Very, very important, very, very important. And to start off, I've got one of my old union political guys that's been around here for quite some time, and we're going to start this baby off the right way, if you will. And the reason why I said the union right up front with it is that I'm putting the first person. We're going to talk about the mayorship right off the bat, and then after we get through rapping here for about 30 minutes or so, we're going to have the business person, a business person from the city of Portland, or realistically the state of Oregon. I mean, if you want to know anything about housing and real estate, you've heard of Fred Stewart before. He's a businessman. He's got a title company, a historic piece here in the state of Oregon, for that matter. Okay. But anyway, he's also dabbled a little bit in politics. He's run for office before in the past, but he's got a lane now. He's got a lane, a very, very, as far as I'm concerned, a very lucrative lane too, aspect of it, and a very responsible position. Again, that's the kind of resume I'm talking about. And here's Bob over here, who again, the same situation. He's been involved very much so in the union aspect of it for quite some time, but he's also been on this show. We've talked about many issues across the board many times over, and so we're gonna begin with him on this particular end. So let me start off by the other piece I was going to share with you. Let's start off with the mayoral piece aspect of it, and the thing that comes up right off the bat, which has just been pretty well renewed. I've never known of an African American getting $680,000 in a settlement suit here in the city of Portland. And I'm talking about Joanne Hardesty. Yeah. And I thought that was a very interesting situation because at the end of the day, she was a city commissioner. She was replaced, if you will, by another gentleman by the name of Rene Gonzalez, and he's now the sitting city commissioner. But in terms of Joanne Hardesty, the whole issue was about police funding, and that really was the deal. That was the major part of the campaign between her and Rene Gonzalez, and as a result of that, Gonzalez basically, who was a newcomer. He was a newcomer to the race aspect of it, and he now is sitting there. But the fact of the matter is, this whole issue about police is huge. It's a national issue for that matter. But but we've had some things. But the bottom line with that piece there was that
it cost her the election.
It cost her the election, and it was interesting about that whole piece. Again, with her, was that when she was newly elected as a city council person, and when she was there, she'd been spending about 30 years and so on the whole issue of police in the black community. And she'd been doing that piece for quite some time, but that was her lane. But at the end of the day, she brought that issue to the table and went round and round with this, that, and the other. And you can get more of this stuff because I would also identify the fact that the media is going to be very much involved with the election at this point in time. They were very much involved at that point in time, and they'd pretty well taken the side with the police department along that particular line for that end of it. So the media, but our media, in all due respect, I'm throwing that out to you, is because YouTube is a good media because a lot of that history is sitting in the YouTube that you can pick up all the background. I can go on and on. In fact, I can go on for 2 days talking about the whole issue of what happened during the Joanne Hardesty thing and the Portland Police Department aspect of it. So, but that's why we start off with the mayor thing. So people are going to be running for office, and I'm saying in many ways that she may be one of the ones that run for office. I mean, because in all due respect, the city of Portland apologized to her. They apologized to her and gave her $5,000, I guess, for lawyers' fees, and also sent out the mayor, who was the mayor of the city, Wheeler, put out a letter of apologizing to her. Unfortunately, the Union Police Department, but they gave a heck of an apology, $680,000. What an apology! I mean, but the fact of the matter is that did happen, and so and then the Oregonian was the one that's the other highlight of this piece. The major newspapers, media in our area, pretty well went on the other side also too, and denounced her, and the Oregonian basically did some stuff on her. So anyway, but the bottom line is that we're starting a whole new day, and there are some things. Again, like I said, go to the media, go to the YouTube aspect of it, and look at that background aspect of it. But the fact of the matter is, we are wanting leadership, people with a resume. And I'm sharing with you that there was a resume that when she was there. I'm giving an example, and I'm saying that to anybody else that may be interested in running for office, whether it was a plus or a negative. You know, you have a resume. You can run for office because your negatives might be positives for the city of Portland coming back to the city of roses. And your positives might be negatives that might not get you elected trying to get to the city of roses. Because we're going to be I'm looking for the sunshine. I'm looking for those roses coming back. I'm looking for going downtown and having a cup of coffee. And I'm looking for, I'm taking my wife down there with me, and nobody's urinating on the street or attacking me and the other thing, whatever. So I think I've said enough at this point in time, but I'm going to let Bob now run around. Well, Bob, what do you think up to this particular point? City of Roses, what do you bring to the table? And I want you to spend a little time on the union. I think we got we're going to have a good police department. We got a new chief now. Talk about it.
Well, one of the things that the police are slowly beginning to understand is that if you do it's not your job to do people wrong. It's your job to enforce the law. And from what I could see, is that the police and the police union, they went against Joanne because she was saying the magic words, which is all about money, defund the police. And a lot of us didn't understand what defund the police meant. And they were not talking about taking all the money from police. She was police was showing that for people with mental illness, people that were under the weather in some kind of way, they were not capable of treating those people in any other manner than a criminal manner. And so they shot one guy. They shot at a couple of people. Things of that nature. They were harming people. So she wanted to take the money that was being tunneled into them, to go and say, hey, we need the people that understand what these people need, and we need the funds to do that. So we'll take it from them, and they won't have that portion of the job anymore. Well, defund the police was carried by the news channels here and all over the country. And so we laymen saying, wait a minute, they're going to take all the money from the police. Or what's going to happen to the police force, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it got out of hand. Yeah. And so, of course, if you're going to take my money, I'm going to fight you. And so that's what ended up with the police force here. They began to look for the negative in Joanne. And they found out that she liked to have fun at the casinos. So they tried to use that underhandedly. What really got them was when they lied about her being in a car accident and running away from the scene of the crime. And they turned that into the newspaper channels, and they ran with it. And come to find out, it was some lady over in Vancouver. It wasn't, Joanne was not the person. And they would not even apologize for it. Because in the beginning, she asked for an apology. And they wouldn't apologize. So she sued them. And she sued the city for not taking care of their employee. Because she's a city employee as well, elected employee. And so she sued the city. She won. Well, she would have won in court. They succumbed to a settlement, and they came to a settlement with the police as well.
You know, another point I would like to bring up is that part of that money, was it 15 million or 18 million, something like that. It was something like that. And they used to have the police were actually walking the beat in the city of Portland, downtown Portland, walking the beat. We had no one. We needed more police, but at the same time, she put together a little program, if you will, and emulated a program. These folks weren't dressed in uniform, but they basically were walking the beat, like in Old Town and whatever. And so I think that as soon as we can, with the numbers, if we can get the numbers back up with police force, all of a sudden the police will be walking those beats again.
Well, I don't know, because the police began to look at walking the beat as danger. It puts them out there without any quote unquote protection. And
well, it's a dangerous job, don't you think?
Yeah. And so they began to try to figure out ways. That's why they got in their cars and they would travel around, because they had some remnants of protection there. And so it's one of those situations where a lack of respect. If you don't respect the people you're supposed to be taking care of, they're not going to respect you. And so things begin to happen in a negative form in that manner.
Yeah, I was just trying to focus on the fact that it was an issue that basically said she was doing something for the city.
Right.
And that's where I'm coming from.
Well,
that's what I'm talking about, the resume.
You look at everything she's done, it's been about the people. It wasn't about improving Joanne's life. It was about improving the city of Portland.
And that's what she was doing. That was the focus.
To me, that was her focus.
Okay. And then I guess the other side of the coin, getting right back, we got about 5 more minutes. We talked about this introduction aspect of it. We have another mayor. The first person that signed on to run for mayor of Portland was Maps.
Right.
And he was a city commissioner. Maps. He basically said he's running for office, and he's also going after the little government money, support money, campaign money for funding aspect of it. But I had only one concern about that particular piece. The mayor naturally is not going to be running for mayor aspect of it, and the other city commissioners didn't announce the fact that they were going to be running, maybe not or whatever. And here he is running for mayor. But he's still sitting in that seat,
right?
But the bottom line is that he's just advertising. So as far as I'm concerned, the person sitting there.
He cast a stone. He threw his stone in the water, and he want to see what type of ripple effect it has.
Yeah, but I'm still saying he's still.
What do we know about it?
Yeah, that's right. I agree with you on that particular point. But as far as if I had my brothers, I would have said to the other commissioners, if you're interested in running for any of the office, if you will, first thing you want to do is be productive in your own area of responsibility, because they each were responsible for certain bureaus, right? You got me? And that's the job. And I was glad that Dan Ryan basically made some comments about the fact that he was focusing on his issues, and Rubio was doing the same thing. And naturally, Rene Gonzalez is really doing the job. He's sitting in this seat aspect of it. So then all of a sudden, like I said, we got Maps, he's paying more attention, if you will, to running for office, and it's just not cool. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that on the table that he is running for office, and then there are several other folks that have already signed up. But anybody who wants to run for office, hey, you can get out there and do it. But please remember, have a resume. Make sure you know what the issues are. And I would suggest, again, like I said, read the newspapers, if you will. You got YouTube that you can look at the visuals aspect of it. You can go and get the commission. They meet every Thursdays. Yeah, every Wednesday. The city council meets every Wednesday. You may want to go down to City Hall. You may want to comment on some of the issues. You can learn about certain things.
Just being in the room.
You guess right. Because you got to be prepared if you're going to be running for this office, because we're going to be, the newspapers are going to be critiquing anybody that puts their name out there to run for office. Very, 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 very important. So with that, I want to make sure we include that peace aspect of it in that.
And the other part is there's some people in Portland who happen to be black that should be running, because the city needs you. We're getting up in age, and we think we've done ours.
Right.
We've done our we carried the water.
Who are some of the people? How about you?
I don't. Unfortunately, I don't live in the city of Portland.
No. In fact, I
could move here.
I talked to another friend of yours. I just talked to another friend of yours, and you said you were buying another house up in Northeast Portland, District Number 2.
But I'm not going to move in there in time to run for you.
Oh, you got relatives though. You got relatives. But anyway, you got Loretta Smith. She may come back at the table aspect of it, and then let's see who are some of the other folks I'm thinking
about. Hey, I said people that have the best interest of Portland and the interest of people at heart. Along with business, we have to understand that business is important to this community, and with the number of businesses that are moving out, going to the suburbs. It'll take away your tax dollars. It causes a little hardship. So we got to get somebody in there with some business knowledge, some how to deal with people in the community and business knowledge. So you can't be one-dimensional. And that's what we've had for a long time in city government, is one-dimensional.
You got to have some communication skills, right? You got to be able to communicate with folks, right? And when you communicate with folks, you got to have some sense of a background that can identify some of the issues that they understand what's going on.
You can't live in an area and have blinders on while you live over there safely, and then you want to come in and want to deal with all the people, and you don't know the issues down below you because you're on the mountain, So it's a teeter-totter, but somewhere or another you got to get that thing level when you run for office. And
I might add also too, in fact, Steve had made mention about the fact that we got young folks running around here too now. We got a good educational block aspect of it. A lot of folks have graduated from the community colleges and also Portland State and the like and whatever. They're living here, big time aspect of it. And then you got some of the folks who are seasoned politicians who have been around for quite some time. In fact, I think about, in all due respect, maybe Lou Frederick might want us kind of come into Portland and sort of retire, see him retire and run for office, because he's got to commute back and forth. He's a senator. He's one of our senior citizens, senators. But in all due respect, the timing left, if you will, and the things that are going to be happening are going to be here in the Portland metropolitan area, in the county.
People have to realize one thing. We're going to have Portland's going to have what they call a city manager now, and that's going to do something with the mayor's office. Does anyone know how that's going to affect the mayor's office in the county?
That's a heavy position.
Yes.
That's my point. You got to have knowledge of everything there is.
And not only that, but who hires the city manager? That's the important position.
That's the mayor.
And the mayor might hire him, but he has to be, I think, confirmed by the council.
Oh, sure.
You know, and so it's going to be interesting. You know, in 2025 is going to be a very, very interesting in the city of Portland.
Okay, so anyway, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun at one point in time, but like I say, let's stay focused on the fact that we're trying to bring back the city of roses. You got me? And it's not a situation where you're trying to attack the person. It's not a personnel attack. Attack the issues.
Right.
You got the homeless problem that's still sitting on the table. In fact, I noticed that there's a lawsuit there. There was a settlement for some of the folks who were wheelchair driven, and they were worried about the idea on the sidewalks, if you will, the tents and whatever. And then, but like I said, you got a number of issues. We got the crime issue aspect of it. We got the shooting. We had a heck of a good positive month of September. It's about ready to end, and there's not been that much activities of the shootings of late, and I thought that was a good deal. I mean, that's a good sign. That's what I'm saying. And the weather was beautiful for it too at the same time. So I think we're heading in the more positive direction aspect of it, and that's a key.
I've yet to understand why would the police communicate to everyone. We don't have enough of us to go to take care of certain issues.
Yeah, they do.
You know, I was.
But don't you think that is an issue?
Yes.
Yeah, we got to have numbers out there.
We do,
and it's quite a career too, by the way. And as a result of some of these issues and whatever, I mean, when you look at that salary rate, when you look at that salary that an officer makes, and the time for retirement aspect, it can be quite a history aspect of it.
Sure.
I might add also too that since you made that point. The point about the fact we got a new chief now, Lavelle, who was formerly the chief at the mayor's office. He's going to go on and take a kind of a community policing kind of a person. He's going to be there, and then but you got a guy named Bob Day.
Right.
I think it's Bob Day who's going to be the new chief. He's been around he's gotten off of retirement and he's back there doing the deal, and I thought that's a good sign, and so that's kind of a neat deal. Then you got the president of the Portland Police Association,
new one,
and then he's there, and his father was a retiree. And so that means that they got their kids involved in the police department.
Nepotism isn't dead.
But in this particular, but as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of been, as far as I'm concerned, it might be in a positive kind of a situation because of the fact that someone had to sign off of that $680,000 to Joanne Hardesty. I mean, that's a historical record amount of money aspect of it. But when I looked at, and I've been around for a couple of days, but I looked at some of the activities in regards to what she did. She was one of the most vocal people sitting on the city council, like Renee. I mean, Renee Gonzalez is a very outspoken kind of thing, and also the Hispanic woman. She's pretty sharp, and even Dan. And then Dan.
Their bureau.
Yes, and then you got Dan Ryan. Dan Ryan. You know, I thought I was looking for some big things from him from the standpoint that his brother at one point, since deceased, was one of those homeless kind of a person, and he passed away. And I thought Dan should have been doing more. He should be doing more work, but he's sitting on the council. He communicates quite well, the aspect of it. But that, to me, as far as that's his lane. His lane should be, if you will, on the housing aspect of it for the homeless, the mental illness aspect of it. But then you got the county sitting on the other end.
I was going to say he has to, and when you're in the city dealing with housing, you have to deal with the county.
You got to deal with the county. They just made a big deal. They shared with the 60 million bucks or something like that with the city of Portland, and so they're making some,
they're trying to make some inroads because they had this money, and what they were doing, what they did was, instead of putting money into the community, they were building a I call it a survival kit for themselves, i.e., hiring people.
Yeah.
You know, instead of using the money to take care of the issue, they were hiring new managers and employees.
And then, and right from that's going to be another issue. In fact, I may be calling you back on. We're going to talk about that as far as the county is concerned. Peterson is sort of new to the deal. Under the format of the county, the chair basically ran everything.
Right.
And she's not a Deborah Kafori. See, Deborah Kafori had a resume and she had a background aspect of it, so that but it's changing. She's coming around because she just approved the idea with the city. So the mayor was testifying before the county the other day, and it shows that there's some communication is happening for a change. So that's a good sign. Sign. But we're also going to have some positions open, by the way, in the county. So we'll talk about that later on about the county races aspect of it. But right now we're pretty well just focusing on the city at this point in time. So with that, what we're going to do now is that I've got a businessman in the house that's been around and in all due respect, he has some of the little historical pieces about running for office. He was very much involved in politics at one point in time, but he's since he's in another lane. He's in the real estate lane, but he's a businessman. He's got a title company, and I'm talking about Fred Stewart, and he's very, very knowledgeable, if you will. I mean, probably one of the most knowledgeable person about real estate here. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, the state of Oregon, but more focused, if you will, now in the city of Portland. And we need him here big time. But I'd like to kind of we're going to kind of get a better feel of what he feels about the impact of what what role real estate will play in this new reorganization of the city, and what he feels about that.
Right. And the nice thing about Fred is he's always willing to share.
Oh yeah, he's willing to share now.
He'll share. He'll give you his opinion, and he can back it up in many.
The last point I'll make about Fred is that just like yourself, your golfing is always primary to you. I took you from the golf. I took you from the golfing for the day this morning, and I thank you for that piece. And Fred is the same boy. Every so often he'll punt politics. Every so often I'll catch him. Yeah. I'll catch him on Facebook. Every so often he might punt in there, but his mainstay is real estate now.
Yes, it is.
It makes it feel good deal. So we're going to interview him, and I'm going to interview him right now. So we're just going to play musical chairs.
I'm going to give him my seat.
That sounds great.
All right.
Fred, why don't you come on up aboard with it? Okay. So anyway, Fred's going to come on here now, and want to thank Bob again for being here. And we got Fred Stewart's going to be here now, and Fred is here. We're going to be with us, and he's going to share his thoughts about the business community. He's going to represent the business community here in the city of Portland, and his ideas of what they feel this upcoming reorganization of the city is going to do for the business community. Fred, how you doing, bud?
Pretty good.
Good. How's things going?
Things going good.
Good. A little chat real quick about how's the new business, your title company coming?
Oh, Vanport's doing good in general. We had a horrible week last week, but that's happened sometimes.
Okay. Well, that's part of
this. This is a tough business.
That's the nature of business,
This is a very tough business.
That's the nature of business. I know you're going to stick around. It's not going to be 5 years.
We're not going to give up.
It's not going to be 5 years and gone, right? It's going to be.
You got to remember, I'm the first black person ever to do this in Oregon history. Matter of fact, Oregon and Washington, because we do business in Washington too.
Well, I'll put it better this way. You're the first person who happens to be black in Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay.
To do it.
So anybody can.
So every time, everything I go through, everything Vanport goes through, is unique in that no other black person has ever had to deal with this before.
Well, I still remember you when you were first coming up then when I was Better Housing Corporation.
I'm hoping I'm not the last. I mean, we need more black people in banking. We need more black people in real estate.
Okay.
And I got to say, I'm very proud of the population of black people who are in real estate right now.
Okay,
Great,
really.
When I first came in 35 years ago, there was no more than about 25 black people. I was the absolute youngest. Half of them were preachers.
I remember that.
Half of them were preachers. And they really weren't, they were nice people. I remember them all. Most are dead, of course, now. But they weren't professionals. They was like, some old lady, old man in their church wanted to, get rid of a house, or somebody died, they would go, No, the black folks right now that are in real estate, we've got one incredible population.
Good.
Very educated, very experienced. It blows me away to meet them. We got, in general, a very high-level class of in a real estate community, period.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So what we've had for the first time in Portland history, probably in Oregon history, is the only difference between white top realtors and black top realtors are the ease of getting the opportunity, building relationships. They're both equally as good. You understand? And that's never happened before. Don't take me as being arrogant when I say this, but for many years, I was the absolute best black realtor in the state. And that's not good. That's not good at all. That's not good. You know, that's not good. Right now, there's several realtors, black realtors, I would say are among the best I've ever met. Just like there's some white realtors right now, among the best. I mean, they got this down. And I think to that degree, the color line is being blurred.
Good,
You know what I mean? It's
good.
not like it is in the old days.
Right.
The only real difference is if you're white in a mostly white market, you got more ease of opportunity to develop relationships. That's why I tell white people, you got to be a little assertive in building relationships with black people because it's just easy. You know, meet another white person, and they're all nice. You know, everybody's nice. But, you know, if you want to make some real change, you know, at least put yourself in a position to consider doing business with somebody who doesn't look like you. Put yourself, give them the shot. You know what I mean? Because right now, the performance line between black realtors and white realtors, I don't really see a line anymore. And I'm very proud to be in this industry long enough to see that.
Great, great.
You know, between knowledge, experience, you know, ability to market, ability. I mean, I really don't see a divide anymore. And that's great in an industry like that. We need more of that in more industries. And the same thing goes in the mortgage industry. I'm just blown away with some of the professionals, the black professionals that are in the mortgage industry. Among the best. When I first got in this business, and 35 years ago, there was only one black loan officer in the state of Oregon. The first one, Ralph Nickerson.
Oh, Ralph. Yep,
Ralph
yep,
Nickerson. He was over at Benjamin Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin, that's right, that's right.
And Benjamin Franklin hated that he was doing business in North and Northeast Portland. Hated it. And I remember one of the first 10 o'clock Fred moments, that's what my friends call it when I get pissed off, was when they told Ralph in 1989, summer of 89, that the following month he had to do $3 million in volume in order to keep his job. Now you gotta remember, in 1989, the average house in Portland was like 50 grand. The average in inner Northeast Portland was like 25.
Yeah.
So do you know how many houses that man would have? And he was the only one they gave this limit to, right? This was after Mr. Hazen had left the business. You know, this is not long before B of A got taken over. Once he left the business, but he stopped, you know, daily operations. So anyway, what I'm getting to is they fired him because he only did like $500,000 in volume, which back in 1989, that was La Vida Loca. That was like awesome. But he didn't hit his $3 million. So they fired him. So I remember going down there one afternoon. I just gave them a piece of my mind. Every one of them racist son of a guns that were in that office. And I'm not unashamed.
That was at the Bend?
That was at the Bend over there in Mall 205. Yeah. Oh my God. And I remember all their names to this day. They're all retired now. But every time we crossed paths, they knew verbal abuse was coming their way. God, I hated those people.
Well, let me throw a piece
but
on
we
that
don't.
piece.
What I'm getting to is we don't have stuff like that today.
Okay, but
today, it's all. I mean, this is a dream come true. Watching what's going down right now. Okay. After you know,
do me a favor. Let me throw this in before you leave the Nickerson piece.
Okay.
Remember Louis Scherzer? Remember Scherzer?
Yeah.
Scherzer was the one that hired him. And I was right in the middle of that deal with Better Housing Corporation, right? In fact, you were the one that.
Well, I don't know who hired him because that was before my time. That was in the Marines.
I knew who hired him. I knew because I was at Better Housing Corporation because I was doing the housing stuff.
Okay,
that's how I met you.
All right,
remember? And you tried to get me in there, and I didn't take the shot. At the time. But the bottom line is that I just wanted to make sure I gave Louis that deal because I had to give him that credibility aspect of it because he spent a lot of time with Better Housing to make sure that black folks were being able to get introduced. That's how I got involved in the Better Housing and afford. Well,
Ben Franklin did great work in the 1980s. They took a big hit because when the high interest rates hit, the hardest hit areas was inner Northeast Portland.
Right.
In 1988, just in inner North and Northeast Portland, they had over 2,000 distressed properties.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Okay, and that means non-performing notes and stuff
right.
like that.
Right.
That's how Bill Reed ended up owning, 500 homes
Yeah.
in inner North and Northeast Portland, and because there was so, he just went on B of A, not B of A, but Ben Franklin, and bought all of those, but not all, but a good chunk of those distressed properties. But at the same respect, more black people between 78 and 1983 got mortgages, straight up mortgages, than any time in Oregon history. And a lot of those black people, kept those homes for many years, ones that didn't go into distress for many, many, many years.
Oh, yeah.
And was able
yeah.
to,
I still know some people on that.
but then, it's kind of like what they say, the new regimes come in. That's why I tell white people, when you hire somebody or when you retire and somebody takes your place, if you've built up a good effort to make things better for our community, you got to make sure that the person that replaces you has that same focus, or everything you've done falls back. It's so quick to snap back. And that's kind of what happened with Ben Franklin. The two things happened. Mr. Hazen stepped away from day-to-day operations and put somebody else there, and then they got taken over by B of A, and B of A had a different focus on things like that. And let's just say things went backwards for a little bit.
I remember that.
But they made some great, but that's enough of the past. Right now, what I'm seeing in the real estate and mortgage community is it's a dream come true. The only difference between a black realtor and a black mortgage broker right now is the opportunities that.
Well,
that
tell me
they're
something.
gonna
What
get.
about the reorganization? Because I'm sure you do business with the government too aspect of it. But what about this reorganization of the city of Portland?
Well, I'm like everybody else,
Is there an
cautious
impact?
about it.
Okay, what do you think?
Well, it depends. I mean, everybody I've seen so far that's announced scares the hell out of me. We got a bunch of do-gooders. People who've only worked for the government, nonprofits.
Right.
We got a bunch of people who want to be either a Jesse Jackson or a Cesar Chavez or a Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Those days are gone. You understand? We need a different type of leadership that is more expansive of understanding what goes on in the community. And you're not going to get that. We know we're not going to get that from a bunch of people who are not really experienced in the world. You're not experienced in the world if all you've done in your career since college or since high school is work for some government. I don't care how good you are at working in that government. You're an order taker. Unless you're elected official and you work for a government, you are an order taker. You take orders from somebody and you figure out how to make those orders happen. You're not taking any big risk other than losing a job. And look, jobs are important, but if you lose a job, you can go get another one. You lose a business, it takes a little longer to get another one. So your approach is different. What I'm getting to is we need people with more world experience, business experience. People who've got more economic experience. People who actually, had to manage. A whole organization and understand the complexities, not just the political complexities, but the ramifications. We got all these people that are just nice that we've been voting for. They're just nice and they're sweet and we like being around them. But then they go to work every day and they just suck. They just suck. Like this whole police thing I heard you guys talking about. Pardon my French, Joanne Hardesty was horrible for the city. Horrible what she did to the police. The police department shut down because of her. There are people, I'm sure, out there dead because she got on city council. There are people out there that got raped because she got on city council. Because why would a police officer put their lives on the line to face the hell with somebody like that who all of you are bad? Joanne never investigated any cops, ever. I used to investigate Portland police. I've looked at a racist white cop. I've investigated a racist white cop. I've seen him. The big problem was the unions protecting him. But I'll tell you, there weren't many. We've had cops that were considered racist that had commendations for helping black people not die, not go unalive. You know what I'm talking about? Commendations. We've accused white cops for being racist that had black children. They have black kids. But you get Joanne in the room and the right reporter in the room. Oh, he's racist. Well, what about his black children? Was he racist when he hung out with them or when he made them?
Well, now remember, we started out. You were going to talk about the business community and real estate.
Well, the business.
But now remember, now when you got out there and started hitting that political ball out there, right? Remember during that particular time, I'm gonna take a page off of something that you and I are very familiar with, and I'm talking about boot camp, right? Got
Yep.
me? And when you go to boot camp, you know nothing, right?
Yeah.
And then after you graduate, you got a career, right? They'll tell you exactly where you got to go. And in most cases, our political process has been just that way. People get in.
We've been degrading for 20 years, Bruce.
Wait a minute.
20 years.
Wait a minute. The point I'm trying to make is that when a person gets elected today under the old way of doing, that's why I'm saying we got an opportunity for the new day. It's an OJT process for them. They're on the job training,
and that's why we need people with good resumes.
That's
like
what I'm
said.
saying. So that's why I'm saying, hey,
that's why we need more business people.
Right, and we got to be cautious about getting caught up in the personality deal. Because if you get caught up in the personality deal, then you're looking at the features, you're looking at this, and there's
Bruce,
all kinds
I'm not
of
talking about John's personality. I'm talking about the effect.
No, I'm agreeing with that.
Okay, hold on. I'm talking about. I mean, this is what hurts my feelings. This is what hurts what we've just gone through. Not just Joanne. There's other people out there.
Yeah, I understand.
What we've just gone through the last 3 years should be a lesson to us all. And people died over it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Now, you were talking about earlier about the police talking about needing more people.
Yeah.
They do, because you know what? They got suicides.
I agree.
You understand? I've gone on so many, every ride-along I've ever gone on, there's been at least a couple of suicides. We've got domestic violence. Guys are upset that their girl wants to leave them. Mm-hmm. Girl doesn't want to be with them anymore, so he decides, I'm not going to let her go. And if I put this gun to her head, she will love me again. Mm-hmm. Cops have to deal with that. You know what I mean? Then you got the normal other crimes, the drug dealing,
We need more troops.
No, we do need more. But the thing is, cops aren't putting themselves out. Would you today want your son to put his life on the line for a city that doesn't respect what you do?
Well, but they're getting paid.
You understand? No.
They're getting paid.
No,
right?
no. That's why so many have quit.
They know, but they know.
That's why so many have quit.
But they know what. That's what I'm saying about the boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of boot camp was basically to let you know that you will be shot at. You may be in 01.
When I went in the Marines, I wanted to go. When they asked me why I joined the Marines, I said I wanted to go around the world and murder people who are against the United States.
Well,
but I felt something bigger than me while I was there.
Right.
I was willing to go face anything for my country.
But when you
because I thought my country respected what I was giving.
When you graduated out of boot camp, what happened then?
Well, I almost cried. But what I'm getting to, is you're a cop in Portland. Does the average cop in Portland feel that the average citizen today respects the sacrifice that they may have to make? You understand? But they're dealing with some of the worst of the worst. And I tell people, I'm so sick of people saying, well, we got to work more with mental illness. Dude, I had a guy with mental illness once threaten my mother. I didn't care he had mental illness. That's my mom. You know what I'm talking about? I didn't sit there going, well, he's got mental illness. I'm a little worried about him. I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about my mom. And if somebody come to me and said, Fred, you were too hard on him because, he's got mental illness. So, well, I'll be kind to him when he is absolutely subdued and no longer a threat to the people I care about. Well, that's what's going on with cops. They're dealing with some of the worst actual criminals and some of the worst violent criminals that are just nuts. And you're expecting them to what? Give them milk and cookies.
Okay. I'm gonna give you.
But this is what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're trying to say.
This is what's so bad that's going on right now.
But Fred,
we have allowed ourselves to be exposed.
We're trying to talk to the solution to that. You're right. You can deal with that, Pete.
No,
you've got good background from the standpoint.
The solution is we need better people.
Better cops, and we need more of them.
We need more,
and we need more.
We need better people running for office.
Right.
We need less political hacks and nonprofit junkies.
Okay.
I ain't saying they shouldn't run at all. I ain't saying they.
Yeah,
but
see,
right now, everybody that I've seen that's announced to run, if you look at their resume, what do they have? They don't even have the military background.
But let me give you that point. We notice with the opening that I did with the opening aspect of it. I use Hardesty purposely because of how media and all of us basically were focused in one thing. She's the problem. We cannot afford.
She was the problem.
Okay, but my point is that we can't go into this new group, if you will, that's going to give us some good light of day here in this city and get us back to Billy Roses by basically just spending all our time going back historically on Joanne Hardesty. No,
Joanne's not the only problem.
No, wait a minute. No, listen to my point. So the point is, the police department apologized to Joanne Hardesty.
They didn't mean it.
The police department apologized, $680,000. The city of Portland apologized to Joanne Hardesty.
They didn't mean it.
In letter, but they did it. He is the mayor. He's the mayor. He's the guy that he's the commanding officer, the way we come from. Yep. He's the head man. I don't question the general when he makes a statement. Say, Bruce, charge that hill, right?
Yep.
You in the same boat.
Yep. Not
so
Bruce.
The key is that. So all I'm saying is that that's the thing we got to really worry about. I'm even sharing this with the media.
Bruce,
let's not bring up the history. And if we want to really get on the history, then do the research on YouTube,
Bruce,
the newspapers and whatever, but let's get away from the whole idea of blaming her, going with
Bruce,
the same old deal about she's the defunding, blah, blah, blah.
Bruce,
the
police union did not pay her no $600,000. Lloyd's of London did. The police union paid maybe $50,000, and the police union probably didn't want to settle, but their insurance company says, you know what, it's cheaper to settle than us to pay $1 million to fight it, even if we are going to win.
Yeah, but the fact she got 8, they paid for that.
Hey, that's fine. That's insurance money. And the thing is, that doesn't mean anything. They said they were sorry as part of the settlement. Guarantee you, they don't mean it. They don't mean it. You can't sit there and say this is a success for her personally.
Well, look
she's probably going to walk away after she pays her attorneys and stuff. She's probably going to walk away with $500,000 or so. Good for her. She got $500,000 out of the union. You know what I'm talking about. She got money out of the union. Probably 20% is going to go to her attorney. So, $500,000 left over. The point what I'm getting to is this is not good at all. A city councilman sued the government she works for. You understand what I'm talking about? And these guys paid her $500,000. The union has protected racist white cops for years. That's been the real boogeyman in the background for city politics.
But would you agree? Wouldn't you agree?
That's why I'm okay with them paying. Okay. But the point is,
wait a minute.
They got off cheap.
Wait a minute. Don't you agree? They got rid of, in all due respect, they got rid of the president of the union that actually put that piece together by basically telling the press, right?
They did,
right?
but I mean,
but in the past, as far as the relationship to police, whenever there was an issue with reference, especially blacks or anything for that matter, they'd call up the arbitrator, right? The arbitrator would come in there, and no good. I went through that whole piece with the possum thing. Remember that piece aspect of it? Remember that process?
Well, Bruce, I mean, even don't get me going about the possum thing. You got to remember, my family was very, understanding about why that possum thing went down. So no.
Was it a fun thing?
No, they were mad that the cops were mad that they weren't getting their payoff.
Was it the right thing to do? Was it the right thing to do?
That was criminal stuff. What is good about crime? I mean, you're talking about bad cops getting in an argument with bad people. What the heck? This isn't like you or Bob or Ms. Crumble. You know what I'm talking about? The people that this was done to? This wasn't like Mrs. Crumble or Mr. Robinson or, anything like that. These are pimps and drug dealers in an argument with cops that normally get paid off to allow pimps and drug dealers to do what they do. So they put a possum in front of their business. What's worse, the possum in front of their business or the women that were being run out of that business?
Well, I'm glad.
That's why I always laugh. I go, then white people jump on this like it's some sort of racist thing, when really all it is bad cops and criminals having a disagreement. You know what I'm talking about? If they had done this to Mrs. Crumble, oh, you got me. You know what I'm talking about? It's racist. They've done this to Mr. Robinson, Mr. Harris, Mr. Green. I could name off 100 or two black people they done this to. Oh, my God, I'm right there with you. But these people, they had prostitutes probably getting their ass kicked in the building that day. So we're up here all sorry, but that's why I never like talking about the possum incident.
Well,
but you know what? The white media, white people in media, this is why I don't like, reporters, especially at the Oregonian. This is such an easy thing to present as racist. You understand? And they don't care what they did by elevating criminals, how that hurt the black people in the community.
Well, let
You
me
understand me?
well,
They
let
don't care about the black lives that got lost because they did that.
Fred, you made a good point there, because I was right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
I was the publisher of the Portland Observer at that
Yeah.
point in time. Ron Herndon was president of the Black United Front. And we were the two principal
Yeah.
individuals that got involved in the process, but we couldn't get the definition that you shared, you just shared,
Yeah.
as to why they threw those possums in
That's
the front.
why they did it. It was a disagreement.
Then the point I'm making, that's why I'm talking about the whole issue with the Joanne piece. They was always bringing this issue up about the possum incident.
Yeah, I know.
And in all due respect, they were blaming Ron, and they were blaming me.
Well, they shouldn't. They were.
But I'm
they were
just
doing
saying,
that to deflect.
But guess
and,
where?
And that shows you just how bad this stuff is.
But guess where Fred was? He was in real estate at that time.
No,
you were busy. Weren't
no,
you
I was
busy?
in the Marines.
You was in the Marine Corps at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you wasn't around at that point in time.
No, I wasn't around.
But I say.
Well, I mean, I came back. I
get-
was in the Marines.
But the bottom line, you found out about the possum incident.
I laughed.
I've got to give some respect. I got to give respect for you, because the fact of the matter is, you have been able to communicate with the Portland Police Department for a number of years, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
And they probably told you that story.
No, I knew when I was a kid.
But you said, now wait a minute.
Okay.
I remember that you were in the Marine Corps.
I
You wasn't
understand.
here.
No,
but
that family had been there.
Who
since-
shared that? Who shared that story with you?
Bruce, I grew up in that neighborhood.
No.
My
I'm
grandfather
talking about
forbade me.
when they threw the possums on that business. Where did you get the story you just shared?
Well, I got the story later on from some other people in
Police?
in the community. Not police. No,
You
not.
didn't tell me. You didn't share. They didn't share nothing with you about this.
The
issue?
police was shocked that I knew about it. Are you kidding? I admitted to cops that I knew the two cops involved were fucking crooked. Excuse my French. You know what I mean? Come on. You think the cops promoted that? When they hear me say, well, those two cops, that's why we had so many hookers on MLK. They would go down to there and get their payoff, and then that's why they weren't arresting, Willie Wickham and all those guys.
Pretty fast. You hitting that ball on the
You know what
course
I'm talking
now.
about?
And then you say, I'm hitting
So
that ball too.
they go there one day to get their money, and these guys, for whatever reason, didn't want to pay or didn't want to pay enough.
Really?
And they got mad.
Oh, gee whiz.
Oh, my God.
I'm getting a lot of information
You didn't
now.
get my money. So they go and they get a possum, and they throw it in. And they did it not because of anything.
Did you know that they apologized to the community?
They did, because they were told to.
Was there?
They were told to.
How do you think that happened?
Because they said, if it's eventually going to come out, what you been doing?
No. Well, who do you think put that together?
No matter who put it together.
No. Who put it together?
I don't know.
It was Ron Herndon and myself.
Okay, and the reason why the cops
And I had the
agreed
Portland
to
Observer.
it?
I had the Portland Observer in the front of my face.
I know.
So consequently, I had to respond to the
Who
community.
came up with the idea? You or Ron?
I did.
Okay.
With the Ron, but Ron was there.
Well,
he was a community leader.
Bruce, you
at
gave the
time.
cops an easy way out. I'm sure the
No.
chief of police at the time was very excited about the opportunity to avoid anybody digging around in the past of these guys. Because the moment they say they're sorry, the story is over with.
Now remember, Charles Jordan was at the time Commissioner. Charles Jordan was the police commissioner.
He was police commissioner.
And when we went through this whole process aspect of it, Frank Ivancy was the mayor.
He was the mayor.
And when Charles agreed with the community about firing, he fired those two guys.
Yeah, he did.
The mayor, Frank Ivancy, brought those people back on and took the police bureau from Charles.
Let me, can I tell
familiar
you what
with that?
Charles Jordan told me about that?
No, we'll go on.
Because I used to have lunch with Charles Jordan twice a month.
About the police, about the
for
deal.
like 10 years.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Charles Jordan told me the biggest mistake he ever made was being head of the police department because
The bureau?
Because you have no real power unless it comes through the mayor, because the mayor has absolute power over the chief, which gives him absolute power over everybody else. And it doesn't matter which commissioner was in charge. So Charles said, Mildred Schwab told him not to do it, but he did it anyway because he was trying to, make nice with Frank Ivancy. Well, what happened was he fired them, right? He fired the guys for doing it, and he
fired Charles.
No, he fired the two cops.
Oh, yeah.
And he did
Jordan
it immediately. Now, look, he did it immediately. It was like, you're out of here. You know what I mean? And make a long story short, they threatened to go to arbitration and everything, and then that's when Frank Ivancy stepped in. Now, think about this. Do you think the cops may have known that these two guys were on the take? Do you think Ivancy may have known? You understand? So what are they thinking? Oh my God, how do I keep these guys quiet? You understand what I'm talking about? How do I? This is the street with the most prostitutes on it in the state, the most drugs running through it in the state. You understand? So no, they say, okay, Charles, I'm going to take it back. I'm going to bring them back in. Everybody's going to be quiet. And 3 or 4 years from now, those guys are going to retire somehow. They're going to go away.
And this is you thinking that this is the mayor talking.
That's how it went
Frank
down.
talking, yeah.
I mean, that's what Charles. I mean, Charles didn't tell me everything I just told you, but you can see it's all politics. But the bigger thing is they didn't want people snooping around with the lackluster support that the community had in inner Northeast Portland on MLK, the biggest sex and drug market at that time in the state's history. You understand? How does that happen if the cops don't allow it? Why do you think they gave Harry Jackson such a hard time? So you get Harry Jackson coming in after that, and he starts arresting pimps. Oh my God. Arresting drug dealers. Oh my God. Look at the hell that Harry Jackson went through. The total hell internally at the Portland Police. You know, like I tell people, you know, this stuff is right in front of your eyes. This is why I don't trust journalists. This is why I hate everybody that runs the Oregonian. I know the suffering everybody in my community has had, the suffering my city has had, and one way or another, these SOBs are behind it. You only go to work for the Oregonian if you want to hurt people in Oregon. That's the only reason. That's what the job means. Because look at this. Look at where we're at right now. We got people sleeping on the streets because what? We're not building enough housing. We're not building enough housing, and the housing we're building, even with government money, isn't addressing our needs. We've got people who are working 2 jobs, living in their cars, can't find a place to darn live. And we have people who want to run for office, and they don't even talk about how to solve this housing solution. We need to build more housing. We need more SROs. We need more everything. If we built enough housing, we wouldn't have so many people living in their cars and sleeping on the streets. It is not good that 25% of this market is spending 70%, 60 to 70% of their bring home income just for the roof above their head. It gets in the way of real growth. You understand? How can you love this city and not have a passion for building more housing so you can get your people off the street? I don't hear anybody talk about that. Don't hear anybody talk about it.
Well, they're hearing it now.
Well, no, they're not.
They're hearing it now, right here on the Oregon Voters Digest.
Well, they're hearing from me, but how many people are going to be paying attention?
But you are a businessman. You're a legitimate businessman, and you're spending this time, if you will, talking about issues that ordinarily isn't in the lane that you're in. But you've got that experience and you've got that exposure. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, remember what the inner Northeast Portland was like 40 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The drugs, the prostitute, it was rampant. You know, I made my bones in real estate because I sold a lot of real estate. But you know why I sold a lot of real estate? I had no problems getting in fights with drug dealers and pimps. I have beaten up dudes so I could show the house. Remember that house across the street from Mrs. Crumble? I must have got at least 2 big fights with pimps trying to sell that house, and I sold it for 30 grand. The people that bought it, they saw me get in a fight. They saw the people run out. And they went in the house and looked at it, and they liked it, and they're still there to this day. And I tell people, I said, when I hear realtors talk about things like, yeah, I don't know, it smelled like dog, it smelled like they had a dog in the house. I mean, that's the biggest problem you got when you show a house. Give me a break. Yeah. You know, these are nothing problems. I've had to walk into houses back in the day, and remember. This is back in inner Northeast Portland, where even if you called 911, the cops didn't get out of their cars. Yeah. You know, you've seen it. They'd drive right by, and they'd say, okay, no white people hurt. They just keep going.
On that particular note, I'm going to have to bring you back on, my friend. As you can see, look, viewing, share this with your friends and whatever. This is going to be the center point where we're going to be doing quite a bit on the whole issue of the election process. Very, very, very important that we all get involved. As the old saying goes, it takes a village, if you will, to raise this child. We're going to clean this thing up. We're going to get back to City of Roses. Thank you very much for being with us. Fred, thank you, my baby.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Okay, take care.
You know, Bruce, when I grew up, that family, they were on that list of people my grandfather wouldn't allow me to associate with.
I hear you. You did good.
Yeah.
I had to keep him off and hitting on that golf course. See, because he's